Okay.
Sowmiya, ma'am, are you there? Guest.
Hello, Dr.
Yeah. Good evening, ma'am. Sorry. Very good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Yeah.
Good evening. So we could go ahead and start, or we're going to give them another 5 minutes or so.
No, it's just 3 minutes.
Okay.
You can start. Yeah, we'll start.
Yes, sir. We'll start.
Greetings and good evening to one and all. On behalf of the organizing units, IEEE Computer Society, Computer Society of India, and ACM Chennai, I extend a warm welcome to our today's speaker, Dr. Sowmiya Rani, members and my colleagues from the organizing unit, participants who have joined the Google Meet, and those watching the session through YouTube streaming. It is quite heartening to note a large number of academic faculty, researchers, and students have registered for this presentation. AI is becoming an integral part of our daily life, with its application in many areas found to be useful and productive. Traditionally, academic research is a challenging task, right from the initial step of identifying the problem and carrying out the literature review and survey. While the advent of internet has provided some relief in these areas, the later part of the research, which include data collection, analysis, drawing conclusion, creating reports and presentations, writing paper and publishing the research, continues to be taxing and requiring a lot of efforts and time. With the development of artificial intelligence, particularly generative AI, significant relief is available to the researchers. In today's presentation on AI tools for academic research, writing, and publishing, Dr. Sowmiya Rani will focus and provide a basic introduction to a set of AI tools that could be of immense use in different aspects of carrying out the research. We are aware that today's 1 hour presentation will not be adequate to go in detail on various tools. We propose to organize a program of longer duration at a later time with the support of the speaker. Now it is my pleasure to formally introduce Dr. Sowmiya Rani. Dr. Sowmiya Rani holds a PhD in plant biotechnology. She has over 6 years of experience as a speaker, starting from a stint as a young ambassador of DAAD, the German Academic Exchange Service, the world's largest funding organization for the international exchange of students and researchers. She is an editor at Editage, a 20-year-old company that works in the area of scientific writing and publishing. She has a young startup known as Sowmiya's AWW, which works with the academicians and researchers to empower them to leverage AI tools to communicate their research better. Her team also offers manuscript editing services, hand-holding researchers from journal selection, proofreading, preparing cover letter, formatting manuscript, submission, to handling reviewer comments, and more. Dr. Sowmiya is an eminent speaker and has handled faculty development programs across institutions such as NIT Delhi, NIT Warangal, VIT Vellore, several medical, engineering, arts and science, pharmaceutical and management institutions. Her postings on LinkedIn are very, very informative and worth following to gain academic and research insights. With this brief welcome note and about the presentation and also introduction of the speaker, may I request Dr. Sowmiya to enlighten us on the AI tool for academic research. Over to Dr. Sowmiya.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction, sir. So let me try sharing my slide. So, yeah. So is my slide visible and is my voice audible?
Yeah, fine.
Great. So how many of you recently got ready for an event, official or unofficial, and tried taking a selfie? I definitely did. So I got ready today morning for a session, and the first thing I normally do after taking up is take a selfie. And if you did notice, with these new age phones, your camera has an AI component to it. You try focusing on something, the camera wants you to focus elsewhere. A simple act of taking a picture has become a constant struggle between you, the human component, and the AI component. That is how pervasive AI has become in our lives. Sometimes we consciously recognize the intrusion of AI. Other times we don't even see their existence. However, they are there and they are definitely here to stay. When we say artificial intelligence, I'm sure several of you here are from the computer science streams, which means you are at a better position to enlighten us about all the different aspects of artificial intelligence, but to just touch upon the definition here, artificial intelligence is much more than ChatGPT. It is much more than robotics. It is much more than your NLPs, LLMs, and so on. So artificial intelligence is this umbrella term that encompasses so many different things, among which we are a bit interested in a few of them, a slightly additional interest. So for those of you who are Marvel fans, I for one definitely am one, or if you have kids who are Marvel fans, then this face must be quite recognizable to you as Doctor Strange of the Marvel series. If you are a much better movie buff, then you will also recognize this face as that of one of the most famous adaptations of Sherlock Holmes. Benedict Cumberbatch also went on to act in this other wonderful movie called The Imitation Game. So this movie is set in the World War times when Germany is trying to dominate the war and win against all its enemies. This is possible because it has this machine called Enigma, which encrypts the information that is sent from the German headquarters to all its U-boats stationed across the Pacific Ocean. Germany believes this machine and the code is unbreakable, and it did remain unbreakable for quite some time, which gave the country an upper hand, the Nazi regime an upper hand, to be precise. Enter this.
Can you hide the comment line on the screen?
Sorry, sir, you want me to hide this?
Okay.
It's better? Okay.
Yes.
So then comes this wonderful mathematician, an absolute genius called Alan Turing, who's able to break this code. Not just that, he also goes ahead and does a lot around computer science, and he's considered or touted as one of the earliest founding fathers of artificial intelligence. So this, we are talking somewhere in the 1940s, 1950s, which means artificial intelligence has been around for 6 decades, just that it did not enter into our everyday vocabularies until a year or so. The manufacturing industry was definitely one of the earliest to pick up and adapt to the use of artificial intelligence in robotics, because there is a lot of heavy lifting. There was a lot of requirement for automation, and even without labeling things as AI, they have been around in the industry. One of the latest advancements that all of us are eagerly awaiting for are these autonomous cars. The interesting thing is they do not run on code. They do not learn to drive on code, but rather these cars learn to drive, at least the latest ones in the series, they learn to drive just like how you and I learn to drive, by looking at other drivers who drive, by looking at simulations, by looking at recorded videos. This makes it a bit scary as to the kind of education they are receiving when it comes to driving on our roads. HR, recruitment. We have AI tools that can help you improve your resume, improve your CV on one end. And on the other end, companies are increasingly considering removing of the major part of the HR team and replacing it with AI to screen resumes, to select the right candidates, to do a part of the interview process at least. So the entire process of hiring is no longer a competition or a battle between two humans, but rather it has become a tug of war between one AI trying to prove that a human is really qualified for the job, and on the other side, another AI trying to really vet this, verify this, and so on. Medicine, again, we have had robotics, we have had AI. Though we do not see it or recognize it, there are AI machines, robots, which are performing millions of surgeries across the globe. So, as I said, artificial intelligence has been existing for quite some time, but this word or the thoughts around it belong to glass houses, belong to very elite, nerdy places until a year or so ago. That is when this company called OpenAI unleashes ChatGPT on the world, and now suddenly everybody is talking about artificial intelligence. So ChatGPT was released by OpenAI in November 2022. And interestingly, Elon Musk was one of the earliest investors in OpenAI. He leaves the company somewhere in 2018, and 4 years down the lane, they have ChatGPT. Musk did go on a slight war to claim his share of credit around ChatGPT. So what is ChatGPT? At the core, it is just a chatbot. I'm sure most of you have experiences in ordering your food from aggregators like Swiggy and Zomato. What happens when something goes wrong with your order? You most often don't even have the contact details of the restaurant from where you are ordering. You cannot obviously go on a fight with the delivery person. You go on a full-blown conversation with this customer care support on these apps, which are essentially chatbots. So chatbots are not something that are new to us. We have known chatbots for quite some time. But what makes this particular chatbot called ChatGPT so interesting is that, unlike a Swiggy or Zomato chatbot, which has very limited conversations that they can hold, uh, your ChatGPT can give you the recipe for a dish if you want. It can give you the ingredients. It can tell you where you can go buy these ingredients. It can talk about the nutritional value of these ingredients. And with smart cooking gadgets, you can even program ChatGPT to cook your next meal if you have enough integration skills, that is. And the conversations that ChatGPT holds is very human-like. And because it started out on the shoulders of giants like Google, it started out as a multilingual tool. This gave access to this wonderful tool, not just to the English-speaking community, but also to the non-English-speaking community. This also added to its popularity. Google has been a very trusted assistant for us to ask any kind of questions. And we have asked a lot of questions to Google. When ChatGPT entered the scene, we have all kind of abandoned Google, or ChatGPT has become slightly closer to us than Google. This is mostly because of our laziness, I would say, because unlike Google, which when asked the question gives you maybe a summary of the answer, but then also gives you thousands of resources which you will have to go skim through, read, understand, process it to get the information. But when the same thing happens with ChatGPT, it kind of gives you a ready-made answer in a tone you want, in a format you want, which makes this entire process of skimming through tons and tons of data much more easier. And with the advent of ChatGPT and also other Gen AI tools or the generative AI tools like Bard, Bing, and so on, there have mushroomed a new group of engineers called prompt engineers. So these engineers, they have not graduated out of our engineering colleges, but these are essentially people who have worked long enough with Gen AI to figure out how to ask the right things in the right format in a nicer way so that these Gen AI tools give you the results that you are looking for in the right format. So what are these prompts? Prompts are basically the instructions you give to tools like ChatGPT. And if you can tweak these fonts correctly, then the results you get are also way better. And now we are at a point where a single prompt is no longer sufficient. There is this sequential prompting technique or cascading prompting technique where you first initiate the tool into an area and then subsequently you keep stacking prompts one after the other so that your final output is much better. And ChatGPT is definitely one of the most popular tools among coders, among people from the computer science background, as far as I know. So this phase has become synonymous with a lot of things in the past months. And this is Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, for those of you who do not recognize the face. And when we were still reeling with the impact of ChatGPT, the first anniversary came up in November 2023, and Sam and his colleagues, they introduced two things that became pretty sensational. The first is custom GPTs. So ChatGPT is not built for a particular field, which means it has to deal with so much of data. There is not much filtering. You will have to do every step of filtering to ensure that you direct ChatGPT to a very small niche data that can be processed and used for answering your questions. Here, unlike that, if you could build your own GPTs, your own custom GPTs, these GPTs will be focused on one particular aspect, which makes them experts much better to use. And you already have so many custom GPTs that are built. This brings us to the second aspect that was released by OpenAI on the Dev Day, which is the App Store or the ChatGPT Store. Just like how you download apps from your Apple Store or from your Play Store for Android, you also have this option where you can access multiple GPTs custom made and uploaded into the App Store. So if you're looking for a GPT for writing computer code, you could go and find your GPT even without having to build it yourself. If you're someone looking for a GPT that has to work specifically for drug discovery, for instance, you could find it, or you could also build it based on the existing tools. So what are these Gen AI tools at their core? They are large language models, which are basically AI that learn from existing information, data, process this information in certain ways, and bring them back to you in the way that you want it to be. The problem is that these tools learn from human-generated data, and we humans are highly biased creatures. We have so many biases. Any topic, any division, any slight change in the attributes of a different human, we are biased. We are also biased towards so many other things. And consciously or unconsciously, over all these years, when we generated those huge tons of data, we have embedded these biases into the data. And the AI tools are picking up on these biases, amplifying them, and throwing them right back at our faces. These are some of the images created by an AI tool. I believe it was Midjourney. And all the user had to do was give a very simple prompt like, what does a typical prisoner look like? And the tool could bring out a composite image. At the first glance, this looks wow. All it takes is just a few words and you can create an entire image. Who doesn't like this? But take a pause, take a breath, and then come back and look at these images. How biased are these images? Even if we assume we sit in the US, do you think all prisoners are going to be black and going to look in a certain way? Do you think all nurses look like the one in the picture? Or more importantly, why should a nurse look like something on this image? And why should a cleaner look completely different? These are clearly biased and polarized images. This polarization or bias was not introduced by the prompting person or the user, but rather these biases were learned from existing images that are there on the internet, on the interwebs for the tool to learn from. So before we could go in to understand or get introduced a few tools that could help us in research writing, we should acknowledge that AI is complex, it's multi-layered, and it's evolving every day, and we do not really understand how this evolution is happening. That is why, as excited as we are, we should also exercise a bit of caution, and anything that comes out of an AI tool has to be taken with a pinch of salt, especially when you are considering your writing, your data analysis, and so on with AI tools. So on that note, to add to the wonderful introduction from Mohan sir, I would like to add that at this moment in time, I enjoy doing three things, and I'm Dr. Sowmiya. For those of you who did not catch the name yet, I'm a parent, I'm an editor with a company called Editage, which has been around for 20 years, and then I'm an entrepreneur with my own small startup where we empower researchers, faculty such as yourself, in writing better manuscripts, publishing them better through webinars, workshops, and our manuscript editing services. Having said that, going back to the theme of the day, when we take the life of a researcher, a research faculty, anyone around teaching and research, a majority of their time is spent in preparing lessons, right, doing some form of writing, reading, processing, words and data. This is a bit old data, but I'm sure the numbers still hold good even after half plus decades. So the idea behind the rest of the presentation is, what if we can give you tools which can help you with processing literature, writing, reading better, so that you have much more time left on your hands to do everything else. So I have divided the rest of the presentation into around 10 aspects where AI tools can help you in different aspects of your writing process, your research writing process, right from literature review to reference management. So the first place where you can get good help from AI tools in literature search and review. And when we say literature, it is everything that was published before you stepped into working on the field. This could be primary literature, secondary, tertiary, whatnot. But as a researcher, the moment you want to write a paper, you are expected to have read everything or at least most of the work that happened before you. Finding all of these works in itself is a challenge. And anytime we say literature or references, the first visualization is that of a list. So if I say I have 50 references on my paper, we tend to look at them as a list of 50 references, paper 1, paper 2, paper 3, paper 4, and so on. But in reality, these papers are not independent units or silos, but rather they are connected to each other through different ways. And the simplest of connection is through references, because any journal article or any scientific article for that matter, your thesis even, has what are known as these references. And through these references, each paper is linked to several papers that were published before it. And through citations, it will also be related to several other papers that will be published after your paper of interest. And then we have author-based linkages. We also have semantic linkages between different papers. So when I have a paper in 2017 and I'm interested in a paper published in 2017, there are a lot of backward citations. There are also forward citations. The method of finding all these citations and papers by tracing them through my references. So simply, if you have a good journal article which has all these DOI links on the reference list, then this becomes easier. All you have to do is just click on the DOI link, takes you to the journal paper, read the abstract, evaluate it. If it is a good connect to your own manuscript, you download it, save it. So this has to be repeated several times, and especially in a scenario where your reference lists do not have these DOI links, then finding all these papers becomes tad bit difficult, or sometimes even very difficult. What if we could have an AI tool that can do this for us? A tool that goes through your references and tries to bring out the most relevant references to your desk or to your screen. So that tool we are looking for is called Litmaps. So in Litmaps, you can start with something as simple as a keyword. And for the purpose of this presentation and otherwise, I have picked a topic that is trending. That is something everyone can relate to. It is called intermittent fasting. So after all this keto diet, Mediterranean diet, high fat, low carb diet, and all these different fancy things that we have tried over the past years, this intermittent fasting seems to be the craze at the moment. So I have picked that as my keyword for the day. So here all you have to do is just enter the keyword, and the tool gives you a set of papers. Pick one paper and the tool creates the final primary map for you. This is a map based on what is known as the seed article. So the first article that I picked out is the seed article, and the tool has given me around 20 closely related references based on the article and its references and the citations and so on. So why is this map that was pretty recent, published in 2023? Now, say for instance, I'm interested in understanding what this paper is all about. Though the tool tells me that all these papers are closely related, sometimes I want to evaluate them or at least assess them myself before I accept it. So say for instance, I'm going about clicking on each of these papers. So how do I access this paper? So all I see are just the author names. Just click on the circle and your left panel opens with the abstract, with the DOI, and the title of the paper is actually a hyperlink. You can click on the title, it will take you to the journal page. This is where if you have a reference management tool like Mythili or Zotero already installed and with all its right components, the MS Word plugins, your browser plugins all in place, 2 more clicks, you can directly import the paper into your Zotero or Mythili library, which will create a local copy on your computer. It will also create a copy on the web, on the cloud, which means you have access to this paper now from anywhere around the world on any system because it is on the cloud. So Litmaps is not the only tool that can do this for you. The second tool you should check out is called Connected Papers, and the next tool is called Insightful. So apart from creating these literature maps and helping you find literature, Insightful also gives you a lot of insights. It tells you who are the authors that publish the most in this area. which journal publishes the most articles, which institution has the most impactful papers, who are the upcoming authors, who are the top authors. So many of this metadata analysis gets organized in a proper way and packaged and given to you. It makes a lot of sense. It also helps you. Say, for instance, you're a student, you are doing your PhD, and you want to now find a lab where you can do your postdoc. Or you're a faculty, you're looking for a faculty exchange program, you want to find the institution which has these top papers, top citations in your area. Or a researcher trying to find a good funding agency to submit your grant to, then all you have to do is just find the top researchers in your country, look at their papers, see who funds their research. That is the agency where you will have to submit your grant proposals as well. So all these tangential uses can be availed from Insightful. And then we have Research Rabbit. So Research Rabbit also does pretty much the same things that the earlier tools do. But one advantage is that Research Rabbit is by default integrated with this reference management tool called Zotero. Therefore, it becomes pretty easier to move literature from your reference manager to your literature finding tool and back to the reference manager. So finding the right things with any search engine or any search application depends on how good you are in giving the right keywords. Because, for instance, when I say apple, it could mean the fruit apple. It could also mean Steve Jobs and iPod, your MacBook and whatnot. So if I don't give the right keywords with the right connectors, my Google Scholar is definitely confused, and it throws way too many papers that are not relevant, eating up a lot of my time, which is precious to me as a researcher, especially if you're handling too many projects. So this is where tools like Sourcely can help you, where you don't have to bother about creating keywords, giving connectors. Instead, say, for instance, you're reading a paper, you find that one of the paragraphs sounds very relevant, and you want to find papers that are related to whatever this paragraph is talking about. You can just copy paste the paragraph into Sourcely. Even the free version gives you up to 300 characters or so. Just copy paste, hit find sources, and Sourcely gives you the most related papers, first 10, 12 papers or so, and then you can keep asking the tool to add more papers. This also helps you build your literature library. The next few tools that we are talking about are touted as alternatives to Google Scholar. They are also alternatives to ChatGPT, I would say. So they are the academic versions of ChatGPT. Why exactly do we need academic versions of ChatGPT? Because in the earlier days when ChatGPT was used for research questions, there was a lot of errors in the information provided, and then ChatGPT could not also come up with the accurate references and citations. But ChatGPT is definitely improving. So are the other Gen AI tools. And the introduction of custom GPTs has only made this better. Even Consensus has its own custom GPT within the ChatGPT window. It is called Researcher GPT. That is one of the most used customized GPTs in the store, I would say. So what can we do with Consensus? The first thing is you can ask serious scientific questions to Consensus. And when you do that, so here my question was, is intermittent fasting good for the liver? Because intermittent fasting is said to be good for so many things. So anytime you say, I have diabetes, or I have a headache, I have obesity, people tend to give you this advice of, okay, why not try IF? Go try intermittent fasting. Maybe it will solve your issues. So let me ask, is it truly good for the liver? What is this intermittent fasting? Does it really work? And the tool gives me a summary which kind of tells me, yes, this particular lifestyle change seems to be good for the liver. Not just that, it gives me the answer with the references. So below the summary, there are the top papers from which this summary was arrived at. And it also gives me something called the consensus meter when I ask an yes or no question, which tells me how many of these papers say yes to my question. And when I see almost a huge percentage of the papers say yes and no paper says no, then I'm convinced, okay, this seems to be a nice thing for the for handling any of these liver disorders, for instance. So Consensus could be used as a knowledge base, and alternatively, it could also be used as the place where you validate your research questions. So say, for instance, if I want to do some experiments on testing if this correlation really exists, then I should know what work has already been done, or if this work, somebody has already answered this question on a paper, then it does not make sense for me to pick out the same question and redo the complete work. So if you have a research question before you enter into a project, you can bring the question to tools like Consensus, where you keep refining your question, putting it through Consensus to a point where the methodology and the experiments required should be possible, but the exact question should not have been answered. This gives you the unique research question that you are looking for to start your project. So similar to Consensus, you can also ask the same kind of questions to Elicit. Elicit, in addition to giving you a summary with citations, with references, it also kind of gives you this tabulated summaries of multiple papers, not just one paper. So it tabulates all the important information from multiple papers. How can I use this in my everyday research? Say, for instance, you're trying to finalize the methodology for one of your research questions. Now, you will have to compare methodology across different papers, look at methodology, look at how robust their results are, and then finalize which one you want to do. So doing this on individual PDFs could be tiresome. If you do it on Elicit, you can basically see all the methods collated in one column, and then you see all the results, all the discussions, limitations collated in multiple columns. This gives you a quick visual overview of the methods and also the results and also the limitations that helps you quickly pick your methodology, for instance. Iris.ai is a tool that is not yet available for individual use. It's restricted. It has a waiting list at the moment. But once we do have access, then Iris provides a lot of filtering, because when we want to find papers, we want to add a lot of filters. So, okay, I want to have a paper on this particular topic that has applied this particular methodology, that has worked in these particular systems, and so on. This like multi-layer of filtering that we might require, and Iris might help you to do that. Reading research papers is a tough job for two reasons. First is papers are not written for beginners, it is written for experts. That makes understanding the content difficult because the basics are not explained like that in a book. They just jump into the middle of the story and start from there. So for people who do not know the first part of the story, this is difficult. The second reason is that it is in English, most of the papers, and we are not an English-speaking country, which means the language also limits our ability to understand papers. So this is where tools like Skyspace Copilot can help you. So Skyspace has a lot of different functionalities, but for now, we are interested in the Copilot interface. So here, you can just upload your paper to the interface and say, for instance, I do not understand this highlighted section of the abstract. All I had to do was just click my mouse, drag and highlight, and this pop-up comes where I can summarize the section. I can ask for an explanation. I can also ask the tool to find related papers, and the tool will find it for me. So this is not just for text. The tool also works for maths and tables. If you have questions, very specific questions that you want to ask for from within the paper, there is an option where you can ask questions, and the tool will derive answers not from Google, not from elsewhere, from within the paper. Reading as a habit is definitely losing its sheen. We are a generation more interested in Instagram Reels. We are even okay with listening to podcasts, but reading is not our favorite job. What if we had tools that can help us listen to papers as well? So the first tool that can do this for you is called Speechify. It's not a very research-specific tool, but it can read PDFs, which is a good enough start to read papers. And then we have listening.io. This again can help you read papers, and this was built for reading academic papers, which makes it much more specific and better. The moment you are done with collecting papers, reading papers, then comes the stage where you should summarize these papers. This is where Paper Digest can help you summarize a full paper into a short summary that can be read in 3 minutes. The catch is, for this tool to summarize a paper, the paper should be available. Therefore, this tool works better for open access publishers like MDPA, PLOS, Hindawi, but when it comes to subscription-based publishers, then the tool does struggle a bit. So this is where you give the link, DOI link to your papers as the input, and this is how the summary looks like. So between the summary and the abstract, they help you to decide if you want to read the entire paper, if it is worth spending half a day in reading the entire paper or so. Another tool that can help you summarize papers and also convert your PDF papers into quick flashcards and skeletal PowerPoints is Scholarcy. And then we have management tools like Fireflies and Notion. So Fireflies can act as a transcription tool. It can be your assistant. It can sit within meetings, take notes, record your meetings, organize all your thoughts. Notion, again, is a great tool to check out when you have multiple projects running. You want to manage all these projects, or say even within a single project, you have certain different functionalities. You have different writing going on at any given point in time. Then Notion is a great assistant to have. Now comes a stage where you will have to add your own notes to your papers, commentary, the discussion points for the papers. This is where tools like Speak Notes can help you to dictate notes instead of writing them or typing them out. Audio Pen, again, is a great tool that works to take your dictated notes and convert it into clear text in a pretty good time. When we say manuscripts, it's not just about the main text. There are so many other things. There's front matter. You have a lot of declarations, references, citations, so many things to take care of. And just checking if all these components have been added correctly is a task in itself. This is where tools like PaperPal can help you. PaperPal has this option called Manuscript Check or PaperPal Pre-Flight. You can upload your manuscript and the tool checks your manuscript for around 40 different aspects. And once you check all these, once you get the report, you see that there are a few places where it requires improvements. You can make the improvements and submit your manuscript to have a hassle-free first stage of your screening, at least to partially avoid the desk rejection and get your manuscript into the review process. PaperPal is also a language editing tool. And then we have tools that can create images for you. And one of the good tools out there was Midjourney. Midjourney is no longer free. And then we have a lot of other alternates to Midjourney. Some of them are free, some of them are at least affordable and not as prohibitive as Midjourney at the moment. So this was an image created with our own Canva. So Canva has been around for 10 years. And recently Canva introduced what is known as Magic Studio. Here you have a Gen AI component. So similar to ChatGPT, you can ask Canva to help you write content for your slides. Canva also has the option where you can convert prompts into images. You can also convert prompts into videos, which are great additions to the existing functionalities. And then we have few tools. These are not AI tools. They are your conventional tools, but they can help you with preparing your images. Mind the Graph has around 80,000 plus templates. You can pick these template images across 80 different fields, and then you can arrange each of these components. So any component you want for your image, just search for the component. You get 5-6 choices, sometimes 10-20 choices. Pick a choice. Similarly, pick out these individual components, lay them together, work on it, you have your image. If you're looking for a vector-based drawing tool, then Inkscape should be your choice because it is free. If you're looking for flow charts, flow diagrams, mind maps, anything where you have these solid structures connected by lines, directional or not, then eDraw Max is a great tool to have. Visme is touted as one of the best tools out there for data analysis, for creating your presentations. I believe Visme also has a AI component to it. Anytime we talk about image manipulation, the first tool that comes to your mind is Photoshop. Adobe has been the leader in image creation and manipulation for years now. That is why Illustrator is one of the best tools to have, but then it is not always economical. Considering that most of you here are coders, if you can code to manipulate images, then GIMP is a tool that you can definitely check out for manipulating, creating, improving your images. Journals are increasingly asking for what are known as graphical abstracts. So these are basically the image versions of your existing textual abstracts. And creating good graphical abstracts improves the visibility of your paper, not just for you, for the journal as well. Therefore, they're also a bit insistent on having better images. So are there tools that can help you create graphical abstracts? Yes, the first tool is called Tidbit, and the second tool is called Deep Dream Generator. You have the site called toolify.ai, where you'll have a lot of AI tools listed for different applications, and you have good YouTube videos for these AI graphical abstract generators, which will help you to quickly learn. There is definitely a learning curve to using these tools, because when it comes to graphical abstracts or any images for that matter, it is not just about knowing the rules, but it also takes a bit of creativity, a bit of artistic interest. So if you're interested to do it for yourself, then these are great tools to try on. The next question that often pops is, are there tools that can do statistical analysis for us? And the expectation is that the tool has to understand the raw data that you provide and figure out what kind of analysis is required. Is it an ANOVA? Is it a t-test? What kind of corrections have to be made to these test data and so on, and give you a final image. This is a bit far-fetched at the moment, is what I feel. But then if you can classify your data and give the right instructions, then there are tools like Tableau, for instance, which can help you with creating visuals from your data. The screen says healthcare and life sciences because this field does not really have sufficient number of tools, but Tableau is a general purpose data analytics and image creation tools, which fortunately also works for these niche areas like healthcare and life sciences. Then comes this question of managing references. So figuring out and mastering a reference management tool is mandatory before you even start your first manuscript or any kind of scientific document, because changing references from one format to the other, adjusting your citations, anytime you want to move your paper from one journal to the other, when your paper is rejected by journal 1, you want to move it to journal 2, and they insist that the formatting has to be redone, then you are stuck with hours of work. This is where figuring out a reference manager is important. If I have to pick from the list, I would say Mendeley and Zotero are great choices. There are also AI tools that can help you organize references. One of the tools is Trix AI. Here, this is not a manager, which means it cannot help you with citations, but you can copy paste your reference list into Trix, and there are a handful of styles which are available. You could pick the style that you're interested in. We even have the IEEE style as one of the available styles. Unfortunately, Trix became pro in the last 1 week or so, but still few of these are available for free. To access the rest, you'll have to go for a subscription, but just say Trix it and you have your complete references restyled and ready for you to download and use. Cite is a great tool to check the validity of your references, as in if there are too many self-citations, if you have cited too many papers from one particular journal, too many papers from one author group, be it your own group, be it some other group, these are not really acceptable practices. That is where Cite can help you to validate it. English, when it comes to language and word count reductions, has been a point of contention and a lot of hard take in research writing and publishing. So this is where tools like Quillbot can come help you. Quillbot does so many things, from paraphrasing to translation, and it also sits with your favorite browser and your Word extensions. And Quillbot also happens to be the third most popular AI tool. Then you have WordTune, which has recently evolved into a huge AI platform which gives you a lot of functionalities, most of them for free. So definitely, if you want to use an AI tool for your language, then WordTune should be one of your choices as well. Trinka is from Enago, and Trinka is also a paraphraser plus a lot many other things around language. You can learn how to use the different functionalities of Trinka right within the tool through these short YouTube videos, and you can start using them. So most of the tools that we are talking about today, they are freemium tools, which means some of the functionalities are free, while the other advanced functionalities are accessible only if you have the premium or pro subscription. But most of these tools you can try, experience them before you decide to buy. Then we have Rightful, which again can go in as your MS Word plugin. And the title generator from Rightful is something I find pretty useful. So you say you have your manuscript ready, you have your abstract. Creating these titles, drafting these titles sometimes can get tricky. You want to have a few choices, few drafts, then it becomes easier for you to figure out a title of your own. So in such cases, Rightful can help you to quickly generate these draft titles. So with the introduction of so many AI tools, they have come what are known as these personal research managers, because figuring out so many different tools, trying to log in, keep the subscriptions across different tools is a pain in itself. So that is where we have research managers like researcher.life. This is from the company that I work for. PaperPal is also from Cactus Communications. Researcher.life is also from Cactus Communications. So here under researcher.life, you have a literature discovery tool called Art Discovery. And then you have an imaging tool, Mind the Graph. We have our own journal finding tool. And for all the language requirements, you have PaperPal, for instance. And PaperPal recently also has a tie-up with Turnitin for your plagiarism checks. You have a co-pilot that can act like your Gen AI tool to help you creating outlines, entire papers, and so on. Making presentations is another requirement that any researcher, any faculty has. And PowerPoint is a good thing, but we are slightly bored after seeing all the same templates and animations. So are there alternatives? Prezi is a great alternative wherein it has a lot of these transitioning slides. It has these transitions as templates. You can pick them out and then add your content image. You have a nice, interactive and fresh looking presentation. Canva has been a very trusted partner across for researchers and otherwise over the past 10 years. Even after moving most of their content into the pro version, there are still sufficient number of free templates for you to check out. Now, this is a truly AI tool. Here in Dectopus, all that is expected of you is to give a title, maybe the amount of time you want to present for, the way you want to sound as a presenter, your audience, and a few other minor details. And the tool makes your entire presentation, gives you an entire deck, images, content, and all. If you're confident enough, you can just take the deck and go start presenting. The decks are good. Maybe not too technical decks, very specific for your research, but then when we are talking about common topics, it really works. Are there these magical tools that can write the entire papers, entire grants for me? They do exist, but a word of caution, you cannot write entire papers with AI, because we have AI detection tools that are going to call you out on this. So then why am I introducing these tools if you cannot use them in your own writing purpose? These tools are great if you want to have outlines. If you have a writer's block, you do not know where to start, what topics can go into your paper. And if you're struggling with small aspects or in creating your zero drafts, first drafts, these are great tools to be your assistants to help you take those initiatives and help you overcome the small hiccups. But using them for writing entire papers is never the goal, is not the right goal, I would say. So with Genie AI, all it takes is just to give a few keywords, the right prompt, and the tool gives you an outline. And it also starts filling in different paragraphs. You have to just recheck these paragraphs. The tool even adds references, citations, gives you a reference list, whatnot. Pretty much your comprehensive writing assistant, I would say. The next tool that can almost do the same things is Paperpulse Copilot. So Copilot seems to be a very popular name in the AI world. We have Microsoft Copilot, and then we had the Skyspace Copilot that can help you read papers, and now we have the Paperpulse Copilot that can help you write papers. And then comes this requirement where you want to write grants, you want to write proposals. Are there some tools that you can check out? Some of them are Gen AI tools that write pretty much like Jenny.ai. And then some of them have these templates which you can pick out and use for your grant writing. So there are 3 tools that I would say you should check out. First is HyperWrite. Second is called Grant Boost. And the third is called Grantable. So these are definitely tools to look out for and check out. Now, no matter how good your research is, how good your PPT is, anytime you're presenting your work, people are not there to look at your PPT, but rather they are there to hear what you have to say about the topic and your own opinions. This is where communicating your research and having a command over how you communicate becomes important. So tools like these are AI tools like Udly, which was initially built for improving your communication for interviews, could come in handy. So they were not built for your research presentations. But then, yes, that's a great tangential use, because at the end of the day, these need pretty much similar things. They need clarity. They want you to not repeat words, not pause too much. And this could be a great place where you can privately practice your presentations, practice your communication skills. Now, having thrown so much of AI tools, I definitely know that it was overwhelming and a lot to take in. But my goal was to give you choices, give you everything so that you can try them for yourself and pick whatever works for you. So now that we have around 20-30 AI tools thrown at you in the past 45-50 minutes, can we use these AI tools? It's all nice to know that they can do so many wonderful things, but is it ethical to use these AI tools? The answer is yes and no. Yes, if you want to use these tools as assistants to you, but if the answer is no, if you want to use them as replacements to yourself as the researcher, as the writer, as the reviewer. So what do journals have to say about this? What do institutions have to say about this? So journals, they are pretty much okay with you using AI tools when you use them for something like language editing, something like setting the structure of the paper, or creating a few images as long as you acknowledge their use. But they're not okay with you using AI tools to write huge chunks of the paper and then trying to add the AI tools as a author. This did happen, especially when ChatGPT was new. There was this one group of authors who used ChatGPT to create a paper, and then they added ChatGPT as one of the authors, which cannot happen because being an author is more than just sharing knowledge. It also implies that you take responsibility for the consequences that arise out of this particular paper or work. That is why AI tools cannot become authors. They can only be your trusted assistants. And increasingly, journals, publishers, they are asking for what is known as the AI usage declaration statement, or declaration of AI use, however it is being named, where this statement is from Elsevier, but the statements across different publishers sound almost similar. So you're expected to declare the name of the tool that you used, the purpose for which this tool was used, and also assure them that you take full responsibility for any content that was generated through this AI tool, and you don't get to blame the AI tool for any errors that were introduced knowingly or unknowingly. And we do have AI content detectors. Turnitin has its own AI detection tool, which can tell you the moment you pass your paper through these tools, similar to plagiarism check. These tools can tell you how much percentage of the paper or content was generated by humans and how much of it was generated by AI. Therefore, not a good idea to write entire papers, entire thesis or grants or whatever using AI tools. Anything that gets written by AI, of course, you can do your zero drafts with AI, ChatGPT, or otherwise, but make sure that the editing happens. There's a human intervention to it. So, will teachers be replaced by AI? Harvard has added fuel to the fire by introducing an AI professor for one of its most famed computer science courses last year. So, when I say AI professor, they are it's not a robot. It's another chatbot on their mobile phones and other places, to which they can have 24/7 access to ask any questions pertaining to the course. Will humans be replaced by AI is another scary question that we should be asking. We might not be replaced by robots, but humanoids are definitely looking like the next step in evolution for us humans. The world is split on this question of is AI beneficial or is it detrimental? And we have all these popular voices have very strong opinions on either of these sides. Elon Musk is on the opposing side. I have huge respect for this man, but sometimes he can do a lot of lazy things. On one side, he's not for AI at all. He wants all of us to be very, very cautious around AI. But then he goes on and starts a company called Neuralink, where the first chip has already been embedded into a human brain. So this chip helps you operate machines without touching them. You can just think and the machine will do the work for you. So when I'm taking a session, I can just prop my phone there. And as I'm talking, I can think, okay, now take my picture. The phone will start taking my picture without me having to touch the phone, without me having to spell out commands. This is interesting in a very medical perspective. It could help people who have lost the use of their limbs, who cannot walk, who could be cannot use their hands. But what happens when this comes for public use as an advanced form of cell phones, for instance, as a cell phone technology? That is something we should really wait and see to know. So I would like to conclude with this thought, saying that the villain here is not AI. It all depends on how we use AI. Therefore, being at a place where we are the people who will determine the course of action, we should be excited, because AI is definitely something that is to be excited about, but then we should also be a bit cautious so that we take these steps in the right way and we are not destroyed as a race, I would say. And this is where you can reach me. So this QR code leads you to my LinkedIn page, where I write almost every day, at least the days I'm not traveling for sessions on scientific writing and publishing. I also curate AI tools for specific aspects of scientific writing and publishing here. I'm not good with calls, but I'm very good with WhatsApp. If you have any specific questions, you can just send me a text on WhatsApp. I make it a point to reply to all my messages before I hit bed for the day. If you're looking for manuscript editing services, then you can just send your documents and requirements to the mail ID and someone from the team will take it up. I would also like to take this opportunity to introduce our upcoming one-day workshop, which will be an extensive workshop on the use of reference management tools. We'll start from the basics of referencing to citations to hands-on experience with two of the tools, Mendeley and Zotero. So hope to see some of you there. If you need specific details, of course, you can write to us for the link and so on. Now, I'll be very happy to take questions. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for the wonderful session. You just handled with a lot of tools. Like actually, we were in a position of taking notes of things, and we were fond of all these tools. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Don't worry,
There are so many questions, but some of them are repeated. So I'm just taking the unique questions and they're just asking, giving it to you, ma'am.
Okay.
The first question: how to identify the cloned journals using AI tools?
Yeah, so I don't think I have an AI tool where this can be done, but just give me a moment. I'm just sharing the feedback link before taking up the answer. So I would like to really hear from you all about what you liked, what you would like to see more on the session and so on. Yeah. Right. Okay. So coming to the question of clone journals, I have not personally experienced an AI tool that can do this. But one quick tip on how to avoid clone journals would be to not just Google for the journals, but rather find these journals from the publisher site or from indexing sites like Scopus, for instance. So go into Scopus, search for the journal, and then try to take up the link from there, or go to the publisher site, search for the journal, and then take it up from there. This ensures that you are indeed landing on the right journal page and not on a cloned page. So I have shared a feedback form here. Please do submit it. And I promise to send a list of the AI tools I discussed today to those of you who submit the feedback. That's my promise. Okay. So the next question.
The next question, ma'am. This you have answered during your presentation, but still, ethics on usage of AI tools regarding plagiarism.
So the content generated by these AI tools, the Gen AI tools, they are unique. That is what the tools claim, and that is what happens with the design of these tools, because these tools are designed to not copy things, but rather understand existing information, process them, and then present to you. So technically, when you generate content with AI tools, they should not be plagiarized content. They should be original content. But why can't we use these AI generated content into our own papers? Because we have policies against using extensively AI generated text. And since we also have these tools that can detect AI generated content, that is where these text will show up. They'll not show up as plagiarism, or rather, they should not show up as plagiarism, but they'll definitely show up as AI generated content, which is again not accepted by journals, by universities. To what extent there is tolerance is something it is not yet clear. We don't have a number. So even for plagiarism, we don't have a number. We all assume that it is 10% for most of the journals. But when we look at journal guidelines, then they don't tell you explicitly that, okay, we accept until 10%, not more than that. Similarly, in Gen AI content, again, we do not have a number. So I cannot tell you, okay, you can have up to 10% content, you can have up to 20% content. Keep it to the minimum is what the journals are implying. So the universities and institutions are also following suit, and they want you to keep it to the minimum. We'll have to really wait and see how this evolves in the next few months or so.
Thank you, ma'am. The next question. Can ChatGPT detect paraphrasing?
I really don't understand the question, but if you want to know, can ChatGPT paraphrase content for you, then yes, it can do it for you. It can definitely.
Yeah, that was the question, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yeah. And is using AI tools for research considered as cheating?
No, not necessarily if you use it in the right way. So when it comes to image creation, it is not cheating. So you basically have to design everything around the image that you want, and you create something that is novel. Of course, there are licensing and other issues. So that has to be definitely taken care of. Otherwise, if you use them as assistants, that is not cheating, because then when we moved on from using books to Google, that was considered the same ethical dilemmas did exist, but then we evolved over that and learned to use Google in a very ethical way. Similarly, the same rules apply. Just like you read things on Google, don't copy paste it, but you read it, then process it and present it in your papers. Similarly, just use these AI tools to quickly learn about information, process them properly, and you will still have to do the most parts of the writing.
Thank you, ma'am. Can you highlight any upcoming advancements or trends in AI that researchers should be aware of in the context of AI research and publishing?
So in terms of tools, I think I've covered all the tools on the session, but the upcoming advancement, I would say, comes in terms of policies of the institutions. Slowly, institutions are warming up to this idea of having clear policies around AI. I have also seen some institutions where they allow students to explore these AI tools, even use them to write their assessments, assignments, and so on. Just that it has to be transparent. So the student is expected to declare the use of certain tools, how they used it, how they process the information post obtaining the content, and so on. I see that as a very healthy advancement.
And there were few questions in the chat box, which two of them you've answered through a different set of question format. The one question in the chat box: can you suggest a set of AI tools that are free and affordable for the research activity in engineering, not only in engineering, generally, ma'am?
Okay. So all the tools that I listed out today, you can experience them for free, at least the very basic functionalities. And some of these tools allow you to use them for a few days, or they have restrictions on how much you can use them in a single day, how much you can use them in a particular amount of time, say only so many times in a month, so on and so forth. But almost 95% of the tools that I have curated, they allow you to at least go into the platform and experience them for yourself, at least for the initial time.
Thank you, ma'am. The participants, you can just unmute yourself and ask any queries if you have to the speaker. If no further queries, I request our Vice Chair, Dr. K. Komati ma'am, to propose the formal vote of thanks.
Thank you, Akila. So good evening all. On behalf of the organizing units, CSI Chennai chapter, IEEE CS Madras and the ACM Chennai, myself, Dr. Gomati, Vice Chair, CSI Chennai chapter, take this opportunity to propose a vote of thanks. At the outset, I thank the chapters jointly organizing the webinar on AI tools for academic research, writing, and publishing. The webinar has focused on different artificial intelligence tools that are used for different perspectives of research, especially in report writing and publishing. We thank our guest speaker, Dr. Sowmiya Rani, editor, Editage and founder, Somis AWW, for her informative and excellent presentation. She started highlighting the evolution of AI in our daily life and involved us to the present avatars of AI, such as ChatGPT, prompt engineering within the broad classification of generative AI. Among the AI-assisted tools employed in scientific writing, she classified the tools such as for literature review and references, where relevant articles are closely connected through references. And she stressed the use of relevant keywords while searching the papers. Also, she guided us with the speaking tools, summarizing tools, tools for taking notes, creating graphics, vector-based drawing tools, and graphical abstracts tools. Tools used for statistical analysis also she touched upon. Managing references, AI tools for reformatting your content and validating the references and citation, and for creating English vocabulary or verifying English vocabulary, and the tools for drafting the titles, and slide presentation, content writing, research grant writing, and finally she touched upon ethical decision on using the AI tools for scientific writing. She concluded that zero-level narration of the work can employ AI tool, but human intervention is necessary. However, AI tools are of a two-edged sword, used as a hero or a villain. Heartfelt thanks goes to the members of organizing units, participants in live Google Meet and YouTube live streaming for showing up their enthusiasm throughout the webinar, and those who actively participated in the QA session too. I hope this session would encourage many of our participants to explore the tools discussed here in this forum. Our sincere thanks goes to Mr. H.R. Mohan, Chair Events, IEEE CSI Chennai chapter, who untiringly worked towards the progress of the chapters by exposing such expertise here for the benefit of the members. At this, I wish to thank all the office bearers of organizing chapters who supported this event. With these warm words, we move on to the end of today's event. Thank you all. Thank you. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for the.
Thank you,
wonderful
Sowmiya. It's very excellent. I don't know. Very fluent. You are very fluent. So I really appreciate you for that.
Thank
I
you,
think
ma'am.
Dr. Komate also become a summarizer.
Completely. I try to take notes so
Human
fast.
summarizer.
It was a
Like,
beautiful